Gaza-Israel conflict international response. United Nations. Secretary-General Ban Ki-moon stated that he believes that the Qassam rocket attacks by factions in Gaza are completely unacceptable. He has also stated that he believes that the Palestinian Authority should take the necessary steps to restore law and order, and for all factions to abide by the ceasefire. Ban also stated he is deeply concerned by the mounting number of civilian casualties from Israeli military operations in Gaza. The Secretary-General also called on Israel to abide by international law and to ensure that its actions do not target civilians or put them under risk. Ban had appointed Michael Williams to the Middle East for talks with both sides. Williams soon said, "I'm troubled when I see Israeli soldiers arresting Palestinian legislators. I'm troubled that the education minister was arrested, after Israel arrested several Hamas officials in the West Bank." Williams met with Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas and Foreign Minister Ziad Abu Almer in Gaza City. After continuing Israeli attacks and arrests, and the continuing rocket fire from Gaza, Williams said that, "I'm very troubled by the level of violence here. I think the UN, the international community in general, have been very concerned about the level of inter-Palestinian violence, but also by the Israeli attacks which I know have caused civilian deaths, considerable numbers." The international condemnation of Israeli incursion were further augmented with a scathing report prepared by 8 British-based rights organizations, highlighting humanitarian situation in the Gaza Strip that has reached its worst point since Israel captured the territory in 1967. The report indicates more than 1.1 million people, about 80% of Gaza's residents, were dependent on food aid, and hospitals faced power cuts of up to 12 hours a day, and the water and sewage systems were close to collapse. United States. After the death of a woman from a rocket attack in Sderot, a representative for the U.S. government reaffirmed the position that Israel has the right to self-defense. State Department spokesman Sean McCormack also stated that his country is aware of the difficulty of targeting terrorists without civilian casualties. He added that Israel must take all possible actions in order to avoid any civilian casualties, to avoid any undue damage to the Palestinian infrastructure, and always to consider the effects of their actions on the political process, the Israeli-Palestinian track, and moving that forward. Turkey. In response to the 2014 Israel-Gaza conflict and Egyptian support for Israel, Turkish Prime Minister Recep Tayyip Erdogan called Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi an illegitimate tyrant. He also stated that if Israel continues with this attitude, it will definitely be tried at international courts. Bolivia. In July 2014, Bolivia has declared Israel a terrorist state. Indonesia. The Indonesian people and government were very concerned for Gaza during the conflict. They donated humanitarian aid and some volunteered to come to Gaza and work on the ground. Indonesia also built a hospital in Gaza named Indonesia Hospital, which is slated to open in 2015. Its construction was not impacted during the fighting and remained on schedule. Other responses. On July 31, 2014, on the 23rd day of the 2014 Israel-Gaza conflict, Ireland's Foreign Minister Charlie Flanagan said he shared the horror and revulsion of senators and very many of our citizens at the horrendous scenes we had witnessed since the start of the Israeli military operation. The Irish government, he said, condemned both the unacceptably high civilian casualty rate resulting from disproportionate military action on Israel's part, as well as the firing of rockets by Hamas and other militants into Israel. On August 5, 2014, a member of the British cabinet resigned over the UK government's approach to the 2014 conflict. During the US presidential campaigns of 2016, Democratic candidate Bernie Sanders criticized Israel for its treatment of Gaza, and in particular criticized Netanyahu for overreacting and causing unnecessary civilian deaths. In April 2016, the Anti-Defamation League called on Sanders to withdraw remarks he made to the New York Daily News, which the ADL said exaggerated the death toll of the 2014 Israel-Gaza conflict. Sanders said over 10,000 innocent people were killed, a number far in excess of Palestinian or Israel sources' estimates. In response, Sanders said that he accepted a corrected number of the death toll as 2,300 in the course of the interview, and that he would make every effort to set the record straight. The transcript of the interview failed to note that Sanders said okay to the corrected number presented by the interviewer during the course of the interview.